This is a little bit off the cusp as far as just doing a YouTube live. I did not have this scheduled or planned, but I figured that I could try to redeem myself for the last live that I did a few weeks ago, where I went over this, and actually this mic was muted the whole time. And so I just wanted to, go over this really quick. And I went over it a few weeks ago, as I mentioned, and it was just a sticking pattern that is sort of like a hybrid between a 5 and 6 stroke roll. With the 5-stroke roll, we have right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, and it just kind of, alternates between that. So I'll just leave the snare off, and it's just... So there's a bunch of different ways that we can take that around the kit. If we want to do that between the hi-hat and the snare, or on the snare, on the toms, make fills out of it. And then we also have the 6-stroke roll, which is right, left, left, right, right, left, right. And so... So just slower, I'll slow that down a little bit. And so I wanted to talk about those drum rudiments as well, because I feel like double stroke rolls, they are definitely one of those rudiments that I would recommend practicing, and I've talked about them so much on this channel, whether it's just regular double stroke rolls, the different variations of double stroke rolls, and then even double stroke roll hybrids. And then even when you look at paradiddles and all those different hybrids of paradiddles, they include doubles. And so I just feel like it's obviously, I'm not the first drummer who's talked about this, and I won't be the last, that's for sure. But learning double stroke rolls and obviously the top 3 would probably be single stroke rolls, double stroke rolls, and paradiddles. But then beyond that, learning the different variations of double stroke rolls that are just right, right, left, left, different lengths of that sticking, but then paradiddles, and then beyond paradiddles even. I've talked about those as well here, not just double paradiddles and triple paradiddles, but all the inverted stickings for paradiddles. And if I would, excuse me, I feel like I'm like burping up dinner here. If I would have to recommend learning these things as far as drumming, or if someone's like, what are the top things that you would recommend? I would recommend getting really good with single stroke rolls, right, left, double stroke rolls, right, left, and paradiddles. But then beyond that, if someone's like, okay, dude, I already got those down, what do I need to do after that? Start looking at these other variations. And that's the point of this. I'm not going to talk forever. I just wanted to show you. The last video I did a couple weeks ago, I went over this hybrid type of rudiment. It's almost like the 6-stroke roll, which was, once again... But the only thing about the 6-stroke roll is whether you lead it with your right or left hand, you're still coming back to that same hand. So if I were to do that with my left hand, it would just be the same thing but opposite. So left, right, left, right, left. If I do it to my right hand again. But like the rudiment that I was talking about that I think is a hybrid, I don't know if it's necessarily even categorized as like a 40 rudiments or whatever, is right, left, right, left, right, left. And it's really cool because it opens up the door really to just being able to play some really cool stuff, and not to really delve into it a lot like I did the other video. But like I said, with that one I was muted, so I'm going to try to mute and unmute myself here. The reason I mute this mic is so the drums don't overpower the mic. But if you were to take that right, left, right, left, right, left. I'm going to do it slow for you. I'm going to do it on the snare, kind of take it around maybe a little bit, and then do it between the hi-hat and the snare, just to show you what I'm talking about here. move the snare mic a little bit there, but that is, with that rudiment, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left. This is what I was really trying to talk about, and so I was really upset when I found out that this mic was muted most of the live. And so if you're to ask me, okay, dude, that's cool and all, but like, how can I practice that? Or maybe you're looking at different ways to practice it, because I know how, as I talk about here, it can get really boring practicing rudiments, but it's one of those things where it's like the more you do it, just get lost in the boredom, really. I mean, make a game out of it if you can. I've talked about drumless backing tracks on YouTube here. You can find different drumless backing tracks, and I did a live even probably a month ago at this point, where I did it along to this track. And you can find drumless backing tracks at certain tempos on YouTube, on YouTube, on Spotify, on all these different platforms, and you can practice along with those. So I'd recommend traditionally practicing just with a metronome, and then like literally just till you're like you want to bang your head against the wall because it's so boring. And then from there, use the backing tracks, the drumless backing tracks. But the first way that I would obviously recommend that is just starting that out as slow as you can. I mean, 50 beats per minute, 60 beats per minute, and just get used to that sticking. Because if you already have double stroke rolls down, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, repeat, then this is just like, okay, you're just halting it with that accented, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left. So just practicing that really slow. And so that is one of the ways I would recommend practicing that is doing it slow, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left. But then from there, also, speed up the metronome as you feel comfortable. Another exercise that's really recommended, and I'm not the one who invented this or whatever, but start off really slow without a metronome and speed it up till you can get it as fast as you can comfortably without it really sounding sloppy. And then slow it back down, almost like you're going really fast. Start slow, fast, and then you're slowing it back down. That's another way. Another thing that you can do is doubling it up. So if you're doing a measure and I'll just show you an example here. Let's just say you're doing a measure of it slow. The next measure, double the speed. So something like this. Books that you can find over the past several decades where they talk about those different techniques, but they work. So doing those things all in conjunction with each other, just practice into one tempo until you feel really comfortable. Do that for a week, a couple weeks, and then increase it by a few beats per minute. And then so that's one way to practice it. Number two is doing the whole start it really slow. Dude, I keep doing this where I don't unmute the mic. So practicing those ways there, number one way, practice along with a metronome, 50, 60 beats per minute, and do that and make it monotonous. Practice until you're comfortable enough to move the tempo up like 5 beats per minute, whatever, 6, 7 beats per minute. And then that's one way to practice it. Number two is what I mentioned, and that is where you're starting it off really slow and getting really fast until you can't really, until you feel sloppy, you feel like you can't really go that much faster, and then slowing it back down. So that's number two. And then I already showed the third way there, and that's just to double the speed, you know, so doing a measure of it, you know, and then doubling it. So practice those ways, and with anything, I would recommend to do that. Not just this hybrid double stroke roll. Do this with single stroke rolls. This is how I've done it over the years with regular double stroke rolls, with paradiddles. But then from there, as you feel comfortable, you're like, okay, dude, I'm snare drummed out. I want to do more stuff, or I'm practicing too much on the pad. What can I do from there? And that is where really a fun exercise is to take the alternating right and left between those doubles, and just doing like floor tom, left, left, right, right, left on the rack tom, right, right, left, left, right, back to the floor tom, and just alternating with that, and you know, do those exercises with that. You know, maybe you want to start off really slow, build it up to really fast, and then slow it down again. Maybe you want to do the double exercise where it's like you do a measure of it, and then for the next measure, double the speed. Or maybe you just want to practice that at 60, 65 beats per minute and get really comfortable with that. And then you're going to want to spend a lot of time at that same tempo when you are doing that exercise of just practicing it along to one tempo. And then from there, pull in the drumless backing tracks. And I've got videos talking about drumless backing tracks, and also a video here on YouTube about how to practice effectively, or maybe effectively is not the word, because any way we practice with the metronome is effectively. But I've got a video here on YouTube about some other ways that you can look at practicing with a metronome and using cool metronome apps and the functionalities that those apps actually have on them. And so that's what's really cool about being able to practice. And then it's even cooler to see the results. So if you were to do that exercise, as I mentioned, between the tom and the snare, you know, the rack tom, floor tom, and the snare, doubling it, it would sound something like this. So even that for me, you know, I'm noticing I had to stop. Oh man, that sounds sloppy. And so that's what's awesome about it, is when you're doing exercises like this, it doesn't matter how long you've been drumming. If there are certain areas that you need to iron out, these exercises are going to help you be able to do that. So this live, like as I mentioned, was really off the cusp here. So I wanted to talk about that hybrid rudiment again, that right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, left. But then also I wanted to talk about, and I think I've done this in a double stroke video before, the 5-stroke roll. And so the 5-stroke roll is just kind of similar to that, where it's like right, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left. So that's what's cool about that, is you can do some cool stuff with that one. And so what's really cool about that too is sometimes I'm just sitting there like, dude, how can I use this? And I'll just fumble around with the rudiment forever. And sometimes, you know, for several minutes, I'm just sitting there like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, it sounds like crap. And then after 10, 15 minutes maybe, or whatever, you know, the time varies depending on what I may be practicing, I'll start coming up with some really, really cool, like creative stuff like that. Like, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I was just a 5-stroke roll between the hi-hat and the crash bell. And, you know, and from there you could go, well, okay, where else could I do it? Or, could I add that little hi-hat raise there? And just looking for areas where, and I've talked about this before, just you can add some stuff, whether it be hi-hat raises or and then, so that's like definitely something I would recommend too if you're like getting done with practice and you're like, okay, how can I use these rudiments just to really fumble around the drums there? That's the best way. And I mean, you look at like really, really, really good drummers, like, I mean, name any of them. Buddy Rich. I mean, God rest his soul. I know he did stuff like that. I'm assuming he did. But then you look at people like Thomas Lang, our modern day drummers who are just phenomenal. I mean, Thomas Lang is great. But then you look at other people like J.P. Bouvet. We look at, I mean, there are tons of drummers that do that, where it's just like, okay, they're messing around with these ideas and they're able to use these rudiments in a way where it's like, okay, I'm able to do that. Well, where can you really go from there? Well, it's like, okay, all I'm doing right now is just alternating between the sticking for the 5-stroke roll, but then also, if you were to add some linear in there. So really just different ways there. And then 6-stroke roll was another one where it was just right, left, left, right, right, left, right. And then from there, if you're like, okay, maybe you want to do the 6-stroke roll and then add some just regular doubles. So, as I mentioned, really off the cusp live here, but I wanted to go over those as far as just some rudiments and some ways to think about those. So do the stickings for the rudiments, practice those rudiments, but then think about how you can really use them outside the box and breaking up the sticking, and then where you can apply them, but then also those 3 practice methods along with the metronome and backing tracks. Doing a certain amount of measures and then doubling it for the same amount of measures, and then also slow to fast, back to slow again. But I hope this has been helpful for you. Till next time, stay tuned.